Hi, welcome to EZPZ Interaction Toolkit. This is designed for interaction designers that need to be able to prototype things rapidly, but don't necessarily know how to code or have access to a programmer. So this toolkit has been building up quite slowly over the years, but now it's become quite capable. So this, you can see, is a simulation of a pachinko machine. Basically, this is all set up using EZPZ Toolkit components. So you can launch the pachinko balls. You even have some scoring systems in here. I know this isn't the most accurate pachinko thing, but the idea here is to show you that you're able to create such complex interactions. This toolkit can also simulate vending machines. So the idea here is this is supposed to be money. You put it into the money box. Oops. And then once you have enough money, you're able to buy these toys. So I'm going to buy the most expensive toy, Miffy, and you can see that it's taken out $7 from my balance. And then if I were to buy another Miffy, it won't let me because I don't have enough money. So I can only buy maybe an Elmo and a Doraemon, and then now I have no money and it won't let me buy any more. You can also use this toolkit to simulate autonomous agents. You can probably guess what this is. This is a dog. We can get him to follow us. We can get him to stay. We can also get him to play fetch. So I'm just going to grab the stick and he's going to keep following us because we have the stick. But then if we throw the stick, he's going to be like, oh, I want that stick. I'm going to bring it back to you. Oh, I want that stick. I'm going to bring it back to you. So you can throw it again. Some other useful interactions might be moving furniture around that can be rotated and repositioned. We can cook some barbecue. Then you better be careful because that's going to get burned. So that's already burnt. We can move cupcakes around on their little trolleys, and then we can also put them on a tray. Then move them around like this. We can play basketball, so that's not really basketball, so I'll just use a ball. But if we keep scoring and then we get to 5 points, it's going to tell us that we've won. We can even replicate a very simple calculator by having two operators. So that's going to be like 1 million. I think that's the correct result. We can do a whole bunch of things, and none of this requires the designer to write any code at all. You can get this toolkit on my GitHub, just over here. The address can be found here, and this link will be in the description as well. This is a toolkit for Unity 3D, so if you're not too familiar with Unity 3D, you can also use these quick reminder videos to just quickly get you up to speed. So these videos are super quick. Most of them are less than 2 minutes, and they'll tell you the most basic operations that you need to be able to design interactions inside Unity. Okay, so let's get to actually getting the toolkit. If you don't already know how to use GitHub, what you can do is you can just download the code base by clicking on this green code button here and then say download the zip. So I'm going to download this zip onto my computer. That's easy to find. And it literally is a folder called easy to find. So obviously this will be different on Mac. It'll be different on your computer, but the point is you just need to put it into a location that you know to find. Just going to download it there. It's very small. It's only 37 megs. And this is actually a Unity project already. So what you need to do is you just need to extract it. And if we drill into that folder, you can see that it's just a Unity project, and the way you can tell is it has the assets folder, packages, and project settings. So what do we need to do with this folder? Well, we can just use Unity Hub over here to open it. So obviously your Unity Hub will look different to mine, but you get the general idea. What we need to do is we need to say add. Don't say new project, we just need to say add, and then we say add project from disk. Let's go find that location. Easy to find. And then let's just open that folder that's a Unity project. So when you say open, we can see that Unity recognizes it immediately and then we can go ahead and open it. So once this is open, it's going to look a little bit like this. If you're not already familiar with Unity, the environment has a bunch of major components. Usually down here, you will find the projects pane. And you can see the projects pane is essentially just a preview into the folder structure of the project. In fact, if you were to right click on any of these folders, you can say show in Explorer, and you can see that these are just folders. But some of the files are hidden. I don't recommend editing those files directly in your file system. If you're to mess up something in here, Unity might have trouble fixing it up again. So just edit everything inside the Unity project pane. So like I said, the project panel or the project pane will have all your assets, but the key asset here in Unity are the scene files. So this is where all your things are put together. You can tell that they're a scene file because it has the Unity logo that looks like this. And to load the different scene files, you just double click on these. Now, once you've loaded the scene files, you can manipulate what's in the scenes by using the scene view, and you can navigate this by flying around just using WASD controls. You just need to press right click, so I really recommend that you use a mouse when you're using Unity. Don't use your touchpad. This seems to be a very common thing for people who use Macs. But you're a designer now, so you need a freaking mouse. You can select all the different objects within the scene, and you can see the widgets, which allows you to manipulate them and move them around. Again, if you need some reminders on how to do all that stuff, you can use this playlist here. So let's say, for example, you just needed to remember how to group objects or rotate them or do basic things like that. You have very quick reminder videos over here, like most of them less than a minute. And the link to that playlist will also be in the description. Now, if you don't like manipulating the objects through the scene view, you can see that as I'm clicking objects within the scene view, it's also highlighting objects in the hierarchy view. And this is just essentially a list form of the objects within your scene, which you can move around by double clicking. And as you might have noticed, every time I click on a different object, it shows something different in the inspector. And this is how you can manipulate the specific components. And depending on how you manipulate these components, they'll have different behaviors. And then finally, for you to test the interactions that you've developed, you just need to press play at the top of the Unity window, and you'll be able to test these interactions in the game view. So I like to have the game view and the scene view side by side so I can at least see what's happening within the scene view from a director point of view, and then also I can see what the user is going to experience in the game view. You can customize Unity's UI, and there are a bunch of preset layouts up here that you can choose from. But this is just a quick introduction video, so this is not going to get too detailed. So now, assuming that you have the Unity basics, we can talk about the specifics of the EZPZ toolkit. So there are 3 important folders here, and I've set them in order of what you should be looking at. So the first folder is just a bunch of exercises to get you familiar with how to use the toolkit. So if we click on chapter 1 and load exercise 1, gallery guard start, I'm going to say don't save to that, we can see that we have an example problem. So this is just a dumb made up problem that's designed to get you started in using the toolkit. You can cheat by going straight to the solutions folder and see what it's supposed to look like. And when you press play, the idea here is this is supposed to be a gallery, and you don't want people getting too close to the paintings, but you also don't want to have obstructions on the paintings. So when you get too close, a warning comes up, and then you have to go ahead and move away, because Poop and Optimus Prime are very expensive masterpieces in this gallery. Now, if we go back to the starting scene, we can see that there is this button here called Open Tutorial Video. You can just go ahead and press play, and then when you actually click on this video at runtime, it's going to open up the relevant video. Okay, this is what... that literally steps you through how to do that exactly. If you don't want to click on that video, you can just click on the object itself, and then in the onPrimary Interact event over here, you can see the URL. It's pretty much the same thing as the other chapters as well. So if you go to chapter 2 consolidation, you can see that it progressively gets more and more difficult, but there are some links to specific videos in each of them. So the idea here is once you've become familiar or relatively comfortable with how to use the toolkit, you can then proceed to have a look at the examples. And there are two folders. You just have one that's just standalone examples, which is individual scenes with a whole bunch of different examples. And you can take a look at how they've been implemented, basically how they've been wired. And if there is something in here that is just simply exactly what you needed anyway, you can just go ahead and copy them and use them in your scene. So the standalone example scenes is just that. It doesn't have any other assets that it depends on. Everything's self-contained in one scene. But then you have the example projects over here, which are a little bit more complex. So this is the pachinko machine. It has its own set of prefabs, and you've seen this at the start of the video. We have the vending machine here as well, and you can load that. It also has its own set of prefabs. And if you want to get even more advanced, you open up the EZPZ Interaction Toolkit folder here, and this is where you have the prefabs for the toolkit. So once you get to this stage, if you've gone through a whole bunch of exercises, not necessarily all of them, but I recommend you go through all of them, and if you've had a look at plenty of examples and had a look at plenty of videos, you would have already used a lot of the components in here, a lot of the prefabs in here, in your previous work. But this is where the prefabs are stored. I will note that some of the tutorial videos are a little bit old and it might not conform exactly to the names of the folders, but just use your judgment to translate where the new locations are. For example, this lettering is new, where I say EZPZ and then B examples, and then A standalone examples and B example projects. I just put that in to put that in alphabetical order. I wanted these folders to show up in this order. So exercises first, and then you get into the standalone examples, and then the standalone example scenes before the example projects. You can see all the EZPZ specific tutorial videos on this playlist as well. So if you were to go through this, these are all the videos that are linked within the Unity project with all those buttons. Okay, time to wrap up this video. So the next step for you would probably be to go to the exercises folder, go into chapter 1, and then just go through these methodically. And that's it. Thanks for watching.